$38 to $40 billion in real cuts. Let's go back to Shane Howard as we wrap out this idea of the budget cuts and what this means for America. I mean, are we going in the right direction with regard to where our final budget is going to be as opposed to the
We're going the right direction at the right pace is the question, because these are real cuts. This is the first time we've cut forever, but is it significant enough to actually make a difference? We're talking about a penny on the dollar, and the real discussion is going to be with the 2012 budget and future. As long as
is it throwing the baby out with the bathwater to completely revamp something so sacred as Medicare?
Yes, because Social Security and Medicare by 2025 will take up half of government. You don't support
the Ryan plan in its entirety?
Look, there are many good elements of it. It's a great starting place, and philosophically it's sound. The details and the mechanics, those things can be worked out, but philosophically it's correct. By 2025, half of government spending will be Medicare and Social Security. By 2054, our current benefit structure and tax structure, in order to keep that running at the same pace, will require 37% Medicare and Social Security FICA tax rate.
Because of the aging of America.
That's exactly right.
Is it a right-headed plan to do this with Medicare? Essentially, with Medicare and the Ryan plan, if I understand correctly, is to give you basically your opportunity to get your own health insurance.
It's privatizing a lot of it.
It's privatizing it down and changing Medicare, but in so doing, utterly revamping Medicare as we know it. What the plan
I think it's a bad idea.
You think it's a bad idea?
I'm physically conservative Democrat. I think we should have a balanced budget. I think we should live within our means and take control of this spending. I really do.
More of a common sense approach.
It's more of a common sense approach, exactly. But what we can't do is leave people, that are
in the lurch.
They're in these in-between groups, the poor, the elderly. We can't leave them and to fend for themselves. We've always taken care of elderly people. They have worked their whole life. My parents grew up, when I grew up, we're not wealthy people, and they depend on some of these programs, and they paid into these programs all their life, and I don't want to see them cut.
Here's the thing, though. Until the 1960s, we didn't have old people laying in the streets and everything, whenever they got sick. We did have something. Was it sufficient?
That's because the churches took care of them.
Well, and we had a lot of different structures. But I guess the point is, and I appreciate Kent's, responsible position on this, but we got to go a step further, which is understanding that the government is not the only provider. And even if we have a publicly financed system for a small group of people that fall through the cracks, I can be comfortable with that, but we don't have to broaden it out to the entire population. And then secondly, there's a difference between being publicly financed and publicly run. And I'm comfortable with some public financing, but let the private sector handle it.
Let's take a look at some of the legislation pondered in Texas then. Who is in the lurch? Who is falling through the gaps? Is it, in fact, Texas teachers? Looking at Texas teachers having to be put out of business, having to be let go at school districts all across Southeast Texas, a point of serious passion for a great many Southeast Texans because of the fact that they're losing their jobs. Now, in Austin, a bill has been proposed to allow Texas schools to cut the teacher pay a little bit, but to at least keep that teacher on board. Is it a good idea? Is it a good policy?
I think it's a bad idea, especially in this economy, cutting teachers' pay. Look, we all live within...
A bad idea to cut their pay, or a bad idea the bill that would essentially save their job and allow the cut in pay?
Well, I think that we shouldn't cut their pay at all. We can ask them to do more, and they will do more. They have, I'm the president of a charter school. We've asked our teachers to do more with less. I mean, we can't give them as many pencils, as many, dry eraser boards. We've asked them to do more, and they have. But we haven't cut their pay.
Well, would you support a plan that would...
to give the option to a school district
give them the option?
Absolutely, because right now we're in a binary position. They're either fully employed or they're not employed, and so the only choice that a school district has is to let people go. With this legislation, if it passes, would allow school districts to flex. Maybe they let go of a small portion, and then everybody else takes a small pay cut if necessary. And I guess giving that local control, giving them the flexibility, just like within any kind of business. I'm not saying that we need to cut teacher pay. What I'm saying is that a school district ought to be able to run itself in the way that it needs to properly operate.
To shift a little bit on the gears here, Southeast Texans love their guns. We like the fact that we can have our guns. We are Second Amendment folks around here, are we not?
Yes, we are.
We differ on this idea in Southeast Texas a little bit, but there are a great many Right to Bear Arms supporting folks in our great region of the state. But is this bill that would allow guns on college campuses, is that good policy? Kent Woolston, we turn to you for that. What do you think?
Yeah, we've talked about this before, and I have the same answer. You know, I'm a gun enthusiast. I believe in the Second Amendment. I don't have a problem with it.
It's getting closer and closer to passage here. There's been a kink in the system, but in Washington, or in Austin rather, they think they're going to get this passed. What do you think about the legislation as currently proposed?
I don't have an objection to it, but I'm also not fired up about it. You know, the bottom line is this. Anybody that is able to receive a concealed carry permit has done a couple of different things. They've passed background checks in multiple ways, not only for the license, but for the purchase of the weapon. The second thing, they have also gone through training. And so, you know, at some point, society is able to take care of itself. And so the idea that there's going to be a bloodbath on college campuses, I don't accept.
It's not going to happen.
It's just not going to happen. And who knows, it could end up being a really good thing. I'm not fired up, but it's definitely not a problem.
Something that cuts into every one of our pocketbooks up here. Gas prices. We're getting up to the place where we may be looking at $4 a gallon before too long. Are there practical, relevant ways to alleviate this issue that either of you would put forth? Maybe the president's listening today, and we could help the president to.
My question is, where's the outrage? You know, a couple of years ago, this happened, and you know, gas prices were $3.25 a gallon.
He's gonna come over to our side.
And just people were going crazy over it. Now it's just everybody accepts it. You know,
yeah, it's Obama and his oil buddies.
No,
I mean, that's what it was before. Bush and his oil buddies. You know,
it's speculators driving up the cost of crude.
It's a combination of two things. It's speculation, and it is also a combination of not having an energy policy and what's going on in North Africa and in the Middle East. There's a bit of a supply issue in the long term, and that will have to be solved, and I personally believe that we ought to solve it domestically.
Totally
we have an administration that will not do so.
Plumb out of time. Shane Howard, Kent Woolston, great to see you guys as always. Well done, as always. Thanks so much for joining us on Southeast Texas Weekly. We'll see you next time.